Hey everybody, it's Eric here with Spartan Autoworx. We just got done shooting a video about airbag module removal and airbag removal. So I figured I'd address a couple other issues while the camera's out. One of the common questions we get is how do you remove the speedometer and how do you remove the radio? I had a couple people ask me how to remove the HVAC controls to send to us for either light replacement or LED upgrades. Basically, I'll show you how to remove the radio and the speedometer, and if you can follow this process, the HVAC module comes out pretty much the same way. I know there's a lot of different varying skill levels out there for people that call us, so if this seems a little dumbed down, I'm sorry. But I want to make this as easy as possible and most straightforward, because this is not difficult to do. You are going to need a 7mm socket and wrench, maybe an extension. It would also be helpful, or an impact. I use the impact. Basically everything for this dash is put together with 7mm bolts. The first thing you're going to need to do once you get in your car, obviously you're probably doing this in the driveway or the garage, you're going to want to put the e-brake on and then put the car into run. Don't start it, just put it in the run. Put your foot in the brake. You'll pull the gear selector down as far as you can go while your foot is on the brake, obviously. Then you're going to pull this fascia off, or the dash surround off, which may be a little difficult on this truck since basically the steering column is wedged up into it. Let's see if we can. We're probably going to break this one getting it off. Let's see if we can get it to tilt down at all. Can't get my finger in there. Let me remove this lower dash cover here. Maybe we can get a little more room. Oh, that is a 10. 10's not going to work for us. Let's see here. Now you don't have to remove these two that I just removed, but since I'm down here getting ready to remove this whole dash anyway, I figured I'd go ahead and grab those. Alright, so you'll have two 7mm down here, which normally you would never take out. This is going to be proved to be very difficult. There we go. Alright, now in order to take this off, you have to take this off so as not to break it. You can weasel those out, but I would definitely recommend not doing that. Alright, now you'll tilt the column all the way down. You'll pull forward on your bezel here with the gauge, or with your gear selector all the way down, and then you'll just have to work this guy out. And there she is. Now, one thing too, we do sell the 9902 bezels and the 03L bezels. Obviously the 03L bezels are very popular for the people that do the double dig conversion on 9902s. And just as a sidebar, we do get people that buy these trucks, but some of them are missing or broken, and they go and buy one of a 9902. If you happen to be looking for them, they are specific. 9902, 03, 06, and 07 Classic. Alright, so now the gauge bezel's out of the way. I'm going to take my impact and grab the 4 7mm bolts. You'll see ones at each corner. Here's the bottom one, top one, next top one. Let's see if I can get this guy in there. Alright, so those are all out of the way. Then to remove the cluster, pull it from the bottom out. You can kind of rotate in there. Now the plug in the back can be difficult sometimes. What I do is I usually push them in first and then squeeze them together, and it will release. Some people will call me like, hey, I've got everything apart but I can't get the cluster out. And I don't know if you can see the plug very well in the video, but it's got two little things that you squeeze together. The bottom one really doesn't do much. The top one's the one that locks. So you can see if you can see it in the video. It's kind of the little gray connector there. Well, it's got a little hook at the end, and what happens is that hook will ride the very end. Even when you're squeezing it, you can't get enough squeeze on it. So what happens if you push it into the speedometer, then squeeze it, it will raise up and pull off. Now to remove the radio, you'll have three 7mm bolts. Doesn't matter which radio. This is a work truck radio, AM, FM special, but they all have the same amount of bolts holding it in. So there's those three. I'm gonna grab the two for the HVAC module since I'm removing that anyway. Alright, so once you have your 3 bolts for your radio removed, you'll pull it forward and you'll have to move it ever so slightly. Nav units can be a little more difficult. Most nav units are going to have 3 wires or 4 wires hooked up in the back. Actually 4 wires, I guess, for the antenna, amp, and power, the main connector, and also the antenna wire. So you probably won't be able to pull this all the way out, especially on the nav units. They're super difficult. Some seem to have more slack than others. If you can go to the far back on the passenger side, remove the antenna cable first, you can definitely get some more slack. Then you'll squeeze together your main cable. If you had the amp or Bose system, you'll have another connector, and then usually the connector for the GPS antenna, which is a little green guy or blue guy, depending on what you have, it's usually got a pretty good amount of slack, and you can usually pull it out pretty far to disconnect that guy. And then I guess since we're here, we'll cover the removal of the HVAC module. If I can find my little flathead screwdriver, make this process go a little bit better, but I can't find that guy. I threw him in here somewhere. Anyway, you'll have 2 little clips per se that are kind of built into the module after you take the 2 7mm out. These things are brittle, they'll probably break. I broke that top one, or it's not as springy anymore. Anyway, pull that guy out, disconnect your 2 main plugs. That one's in there pretty good, and that's all there is to it, to taking that out. Reversal, obviously the same way. Just obviously you are going to have it apart, but if you happen to throw it back together, take it apart again, plug it in, push it in, they'll snap in. A lot of times I find trucks that people have replaced these in, they don't even put the 7mm bolts back. I'm kind of OCD about it because I hate the rattle. Every once in a while these will rattle. The radios, I've seen people only put 1 bolt back in the radio, put the 3 back, do it right, push it all back together. Usually what I like to do on these is start with the main connector and then fish my hand around the back to put in the antenna connector, and it can be a little difficult to get the antenna connector back in there. And then for the replacement of the speedometer, same way, put it in like this, grab your cable, plug it up, blue goes to the bottom. Let's see, this really bad example on this truck here, just for the fact that the steering wheel's all messed up and pushed to the dash. Anyway, you push it up to the bottom, the blue goes to the bottom, the gray part goes to the top, push it in, you'll rotate it back from the bottom to the top, put your 4 7mm bolts back, and you're good to go. Put your gauge face surround back on, or your fascia back on, and you'll be good to go. One thing you do want to be careful of is there is on the top, let's see if I can get this in the frame here, there's these little guys right here. You can break those off, it's not really a big deal, but when you're pulling it out, just be careful not to break those off. And then also over here, this guy here can kind of lose its springiness per se, so you may have to push those back out. What happens usually is when you go to put this back in, you'll miss the hole that's built into the dash for it, and you'll flatten it out or bend it. So if that happens, just have to take a pair of needle nose and reshape it again. Hopefully that will make it a little bit easier for you guys. The only thing you're going to need is a 7mm socket and ratchet or impact. And you can have this whole thing apart in just a couple minutes. Take it out and ship it to us for either radio unlocking or whatever service you may require that we could offer you. If you do order a radio from us, just basically follow these instructions to put it in. Any radio order from us obviously will come pre-programmed, ready to go into your truck. Just plug and play, turn the power on, and your radio will be ready to go. If you have any questions, give us a call here at Spartan Autoworx, 636-795-6960.